Hello and good evening. Once again, it's Tuesday night, and here I am for my weekly live. And typically, it's been a pretty grotty day today. Yet, right now, the sun is beaming right into my office. I've had to close the curtains, which are really fine curtains, so it makes me look quite pasty right now, but it's all good. I hope wherever you are at the moment, the weather is good and that you're having a good week. It's the start of half term here for me. My son has 2 weeks off, which is fun. So he's at holiday club yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Then obviously it's the bank holiday, 2-day bank holiday, and then next week he's got another week off as well. So I'm going to be juggling working and childcare. Apologies, there is suddenly this fly which is just caught my attention and distracted me. So my day today has been really busy. Every other week I go live with a business friend called Catherine, and we've got created this series called Strategies for Success. And I figured that on the weeks that I do the lives with her, I may as well repeat that information and share it on here, because I'm sure lots of you won't have heard of a conversation or know what we spoke about, and I'm sure you'll find it quite useful. So Catherine and I, we both have a similar mindset when it comes to business, a similar approach, I guess. We possibly do things a little bit differently due to our circumstances, but on the whole, we both work with clients to try and get them to to work with them on their strategies, getting to understand where their vision lies, what they need to do, helping them with whatever is required. So today we shared tips about, initially we spoke about how to have a successful summer. And you might be wondering what that means. Well, it depends. So it could be that a successful summer to you is surviving. And I say that because I know lots of business friends that have got kids, and they will be juggling childcare and trying to work at the same time. And I'm sure for those of you who will have kids that maybe go to family or friends or whatever, you probably remember the days of when COVID first hit and you were juggling childcare and working at the same time. Then again, you may decide to take the summer off, or half the summer off, or work less hours, because that's your excuse to just take that time for you, for your family, for your friends, to basically feel rejuvenated, revitalized. Or perhaps you like the summer months because you're a little bit quieter, but you're planning, gosh, I can't speak tonight, but you're prepping for September, December even. So if you're a business, that's whether it's a product or a service-based business, and sorry, this fly is really annoying me, whether you're a product or service-based business and maybe Christmas is an important part of your business, or maybe Halloween or back to school time around now, then you're probably going to be looking and focusing on what strategies you need to have in place, so that come closer to August, September time, you know that you've got all that's required for your business to launch, and you can move forward with that without feeling stressed out because you've used those summer months to prep, which is massive. So whilst we were talking today, we felt that there was 5 top tips, I guess, for having a successful summer. And it doesn't matter if it is a case of you're juggling or you're not juggling kids, or you're prepping for September, for autumn, for Christmas, whatever that might be. We came up with 5 key topics that we felt were relevant, and those were planning, communication, boundaries, mindset, and habits. So if I move on to planning, the reason planning is really important is because exactly that. So, for example, I have this evening been looking ahead to the summer months to figure out, okay, what childcare am I going to need? What support am I going to get from family members? When am I away? What do I need to book my son in for? And I've created a Google Docs, a Google Sheets even, document, so that I know, okay, these are the days, this is what I need to book him in for, these are going to be the activities that I do with him, and so on and so forth. Catherine, who I did live with, she knows way more in advance because of the support network that she has, and also the way that her business model is. She tends to work 3 out of 4 weeks, and knows that she has that 4th week for her to do whatever she wants to do. As I've mentioned previously, I take Fridays off, so I also know that, okay, that I've got those days spare. So planning can be in terms of thinking about how you're going to manage your time, how you're going to schedule things, what you want to get done. So if you are going to be working over the summer, is your focus on client work? Are you going to be trying to do the minimum so your focus is just on your client? But what about actually working on your business? Because it's quite easily to get caught up if you are really busy or if you are juggling stuff to forget about your business. But then it's so much harder to kind of get back into that habit of working on your business. And that's really important to do, especially if you're looking to grow or even maintain. If you want a sustainable business, you can't just give it up and think, I'm just going to put my feet up now and just hope that everything magically happens. You still need to be prepping for the coming months, the coming year, depending on what sort of business you have. So then we have communication as number 2. So communication, this is all about communicating with your customers, your suppliers, your clients, whoever that might be, so that they know when you're open, when you're closed, what your hours are, what's your availability, when can people get in touch, when are you not available, are you going to be contactable at all, or are you going to turn your notifications off during set times? Can people still get in touch with you if it's urgent? What's the process? But by having that clear guidance and notifying people in advance, then they can also prep that and schedule that into their own stuff. So say if you're, I don't know, a product-based business and you get your supplies from somebody, they may want to know that, okay, you're not going to be ordering from them for the summer because you're taking the summer off. And then they can also schedule that into their own budgeting and how they manage their finances. Equally, if you're a service provider and you are going to be working, or you're going to be working reduced hours or different times, again, if you notify your clients, your customers, and make them aware, then that's really important, because it's all about kind of effective communication. And the other thing to remember is that if you use Google My Business, or you have your website, social media channels, update those pages as well, because I know some of those pages you can add your opening hours, so make sure those are updated. So if anyone clicks onto Google My Business or your website or wherever, they know when you're available and when you're not. Then we come on to boundaries, which is often a big one. I hear this all the time, that people really struggle with this because of that inner guilt. They feel they can't say no. They feel that if someone contacts them and they know they're desperate to speak to you or to buy something from you, or I don't know, that I don't know what your business is, but say you make something, you make cakes, for example, or fudge or something like that. That if someone gets in touch because they want to place a last minute order and they're thinking, oh, I don't want to say no, but actually they do want to say no, but they kind of have that guilt because they don't want to feel like they're letting someone down. And this is where the communication really comes in, because if you have got, say for an example, you've got an Etsy shop. We can't talk tonight. If you've got an Etsy shop, then make sure on there you say, or an eBay store, you've got on there when you're closed and when people can expect items to be ordered or delivered. So what is the process? And be clear on your boundaries. I was at an event last week, and a couple of people were saying that, yeah, but I work in the wedding industry, and I've got brides, I've got family members that are constantly phoning me. They'll phone me, they'll text me, they'll WhatsApp me, they'll contact me on Instagram, they'll contact me on Facebook, they'll do all this. That's fine. I get it. People are stressed, especially when it comes to weddings and everything that's gone on with COVID. So, if they've had their wedding cancelled several times, I get that. But try and be clear from the offset. So from the moment you start working with someone, make them aware as to what the process is, so that if you are someone that provides a service, make people aware of what your availability is. Be clear with setting and managing those expectations, because then everyone's understanding. Something that I used to do in different places where I've worked at, in fact, was I would often have a conversation with somebody and then they would follow that conversation up with an email, just so that people knew what to expect and they can turn around and say, yeah, but you said this, Well, no, because in the email I confirmed what we had agreed. So even if you've got a contract, it doesn't matter. If you have a conversation and you say what your availability is, back it up with an email. Make sure that people fully understand your availability. I do this now with my clients. They'll know that I don't work Fridays. There are the very rare occasions when I do. If I do, that's on my terms. And I want that kind of booked in advance, and there's various things that go with that. So make sure you are clear. And this comes back to the communication as well, with your communication and your boundaries. Do not know what your non-negotiables are, because this is going to make a massive difference. If you're feeling stressed out because you're feeling like you're having to be on call 24/7, your business is not going to be enjoyable, because you're not going to have time to spend time with your family and friends. But this then comes down to mindset, because if there is that guilt there, or you're thinking, okay, but I can't. So I remember when I first launched my business, I didn't start my business because I had a child. I already knew that I wanted to launch my own business, and then it was afterwards that I found out I was pregnant. It just works out very well that I have got that flexibility there. But for a good few years, so this is almost June is like my 5th business anniversary. But for the first few years of my business, I really struggled to take time out, because in my mind, I felt institutionalized. I was used to that 9 to 5 mentality. Yes, I worked longer hours than that, but I was used to that mentality of you should be at your desk. So even if I wasn't busy and I didn't have much client work or whatever it could be, I felt I was supposed to be at my desk and working. These days, I know what my core hours are and what they're not, and that helps me. So I've spoken about this many times, about time blocking and how I use my time. This is something that really helps me when it comes to my mindset and taking days off. So even until last year, when I officially decided that Friday was going to be my day off, I tried to have it that I think it was like a Wednesday morning or Thursday. I used to try and take like a half day off, something like that. Never happened, because I'd almost feel guilty, or not even so much guilty, but I'd feel like, I don't have anything planned. I should just be at my desk. And it came back to that mindset of just thinking I'm supposed to be at my desk, or I'd feel guilty if I don't know, if I had to nip to the chemist, nip to the shop, go to the doctors, or whatever that might be, because I was so institutionalized in my head that it just wasn't working. So by creating that time blocking, looking at how I schedule my time, that really helps with my mindset and saying no to stuff and reminding people. It takes time though, and it's all about creating those habits, because the more you get into that routine, the more you get into creating those habits, the more likely you are to stick with them, especially if you remind yourself as to why you're doing something in the first place. So remember, planning, communication, boundaries, mindset, and habits. That's what it's all about. So whether you're planning to juggle childcare and work over the summer, whether you're planning because you've got no kids, but you're just planning to take a couple of weeks out over the summer, think about what's important to you. What are you wanting to get out of the summer? What do you want to achieve? If you are planning to work on your business, set yourself goals. Start thinking about those goals now as to what you've wanted to achieve between now and the end of the summer. So by the end of August, what do you want to achieve? So if you are looking towards, the back to school, because that's kind of when the busy period is for your business, or Halloween or Christmas or Thanksgiving if you're in America, what needs to happen? And as you're thinking about what needs to happen to be ready for that, work backwards. So, okay, by August, you wanted to have, I don't know, XYZ in place. So when do you have to do that? So you need to have social media posts ready, and you're going to plan to schedule them. When are you going to have created that different content for? Work backwards to help it to achieve your goals. I hope that all makes sense. I always find it a bit funny when I'm talking to myself. But if there is anything in particular you would like me to talk about in future lives, if you find these lives useful, if you don't, if nobody watches them, that's fine. But let me know if you have any questions, add them to the comments, and I will see you again next week. Have an awesome week.